As you know, the Meat Eater Live Tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.
Welcome to Wired to Hunt's Rut Fresh Radio, bringing you the latest reports from the Whitetail Woods. And now, your hosts, Casey Smith and Tyler Jones.
This is Rut Fresh Radio, powered by Vortex Optics. I'm your host, Casey Smith, and today we are talking to hunters from across the country who are dealing with some adverse warm weather conditions, but they are hopeful for big bucks.
This is Rut Fresh Radio, brought to you by Vortex Optics. I'm Tyler Jones, one of your hosts. KC Smith is the other guy you hear from every once in a while on this thing.
Hey.
And he's been hunting in Texas lately.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is.
Man, Texas
seems early.
Has some deer, but they usually don't come out until like December. So
yep.
I've been we have a pretty good little cold front for early season in Texas, so I decided to try to capitalize on that. We'll talk about all that here in a little bit, but right now we're going to talk about how we rut freshen, all right? Like, it is like getting so fresh right now, dude, because I'm feeling that freshness outside. You know what I mean?
It's got a little refreshness in the air. Dude. I can see the clouds coming from the northwest. Oh, the wind is actually out of the east right now, which is weird.
It's sucking to that front, I think, and then it's going to switch.
It's creating one of them viral vortexes that goes, in a cyclone.
That's
that goes.
Right. Yep.
Is this Tornado Alley?
I believe we're at the stop sign at the end of Tornado Alley right now.
Gotcha.
I don't know for sure if that's the case.
Well, I guarantee you it'll be a stop sign because Illinois wants to tell you what to do. It won't be a yield. No, it won't be.
Tyler, you just gave it away. We're in Illinois right now. We are buck trucking. All right, guys. Y'all might have heard a little bit about this. You're going to hear a whole lot more about it soon. But we've been buck trucking around the country, doing some videoing, doing some buck slaying, and having a ton of fun along the way. I can't wait to share that with y'all. We've been in Nebraska, South Dakota. Now we're headed to Illinois, buck trucking around. Just some good friends, going hunting, driving around in a truck, which is what all of us do.
Man, right? Isn't that just the goal?
That is the way it works, man. The goal is to do that, plus have a couple big old just knockerheads in the back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just big old suckers.
Old
so that's what we're trying to find is some big bucks here in Illinois, and this is a place where they live. We've got some guys on the podcast today that have also been chasing some big old-headed bucks running around, and even a little bit of success, man. You know, funny enough, maybe it's because I've blocked this out, but I did not hear much about the October lull this year. Did you hear much about the October lull? People talking about that very much?
I think there's been a little bit, I think there's an article that Mark wrote recently about the October lull. I think he thinks it's real. And then there's also
Mark thinks all kinds of stuff.
Last week, you were doing a lot of hunting. I did a lot of podcasting with some fellers, and there seemed to be not like they were calling it the October lull, but it definitely felt like it when I was talking to them on the podcast, like they were experiencing that lull in action. So
Tyler, since you kind of did a little tongue-in-cheek thing there about the October lull, you and I probably feel pretty similar about this, but I would like to ask you for your explanation of the perceived October lull.
I don't believe in Halloween.
That's good. Me neither. Actually, I do believe it exists, but I don't celebrate it.
No, but I think that with that being said, ghosts, are kind of not really a thing to me.
Yeah.
And I think that those deer are actually, they don't disappear or turn into ghosts. I think they are actually deer living on the landscape somewhere, and that they have to be up during daylight hours at some point. It doesn't mean they're not difficult to kill, right?
Nothing goes unexplained. There is an explanation for everything.
Yeah.
And perception is reality. So there is no such thing as the lull, but you do perceive it. Sometimes I believe it has something to do with, is that a coyote or a deer in the pasture right there in October, dude?
I see it, dude.
Ain't lulling? Okay, so it's either perceived as you not adjusting to the new deer pattern quickly enough, or I kind of had a thought the other day that these bucks go and readjust their home ranges, after the velvet sheds and the testosterone starts ramping up, and all of a sudden they're like, they got their little danger zone right here, right? And they don't want to venture out too far because they're going to have to fight, but they don't want anybody in their zone either because they're going to fight them. Yep. So, they just might not move as far.
Cue the music. Welcome to the danger zone.
Welcome to it. That's right. Miles Teller right here, dude. We're going down. Going to kill some big bucks in Illinois. Tyler, who have we talked to this week about big old bucks around the country?
The bobs that these guys been chasing are very real, and they've been in a couple of states. We've been talking to Adam Kaufman from West Virginia, Jordan Barnes from Kentucky. We're going to hear from Alex Comstock in Minnesota, and Johnny Stewart, not to be confused with Johnny Morris from Pennsylvania.
Or John Stewart.
John Stewart, yeah. That's correct, yep. Never mind. We got
a lot of good reports from across the country, and actually some tactics that I appreciated learning more about, honestly, because I kind of get in my groove of the way I do things, and it is good to hear from other people about the way they are hunting deer and how you can use that. Even if it's not the area you're from, you can take tactics used in other parts of the country and apply them to your certain situation. So, as a bonus this week, I'm going to tell y'all about Texas.
Golly, tell them about it, dude.
Tell them about it. Texas is a dust bowl right now.
Isn't that place where y'all just do whatever and they go running everywhere, there's deer everywhere?
They just actually put a high fence up around the whole state. Just keep all the deer in one spot. There's some public ground in Texas, and it's wild. It doesn't always have the highest deer densities, and that's what I've been hunting. There's this thing, okay?
Yep.
Where you start seeing scrapes pop up mid-October. Mm-hmm. And I have decided that those scrapes are liars, okay? Those scrapes are not real. You're just imagining those things.
These deceptive scrapes.
That's a metaphorical version of what I'm actually trying to say, is that those things can be misnomers, or red herrings, as some people like to say, okay? They can lead you astray from the true reality of nature, and that is tiny bucks like to get out there and get all ambitious, right? But the big bucks, they know exactly what they're doing, and they ain't getting out there and hitting them scrapes on October 12th. They're waiting. And you'll see a whole bunch of these little scrapes pop up, and then you'll see them die. And that's because a little buck just got fired up and wanted to do something there. But actually, there will be a big scrape somewhere start to open up about this time of year. And I think that the 20s of October is when you can actually start looking and seeing which scrapes are staying active and make some moves according to that. But I think that I am going to start focusing on rubs more, which sounds weird because I've always kind of not been too big on that. But I learned this week, if you find a particular type of rub, like a rub on a big tree that looks like it has been hit multiple times.
I like to call those Peters.
Yeah.
PTORs, particular types of rubs.
All right, I like that too. We're going to start using that.
Okay.
So
you find a Peter.
You find a Peter out there, and you will find that a shooter buck exists in the area, and you need to make moves according to that. So, going forward, I would say Texas is going to be on the ramp up, okay? I would have given it pretty low scores last week. But this upcoming week, we're looking at a solid 6, I think. And I think that's a pretty good number.
6 out of 10, man. 60% of the time.
That's where I'm at for East Texas, at least. Texas has about 17 quadrants, which doesn't even make any sense if you actually think about it. But it's a real big place. So
one of your favorite things is when guys from different states, other than Texas, especially smaller ones, that they'll be like, East Central, or whatever, my state. And you're like, oh, well, the 903 area code's bigger than your whole state.
That's right.
So,
it's a big old spot, man.
It's one of your favorite things, man, to talk about is how these guys love to break those things down,
That's right, man, but I appreciate the specificity.
Specificity.
That's hard for me to say because it's so the specificness.
The specificity of our city.
Let's get to some of our fellers here and see what's going on around the country. I'm with Adam Kaufman of the Wild Turkey Alliance. This dude just locked a big old buck in West Virginia. Adam, what's going on, man?
Well, it's Monday, so it's back to work in reality. So.
Well, you can't let the shine wear off that fast, right?
No, I did. I killed it Thursday evening, so I had the high all weekend, and then it's back to reality today.
I got you. That's cool, though, man. It looks like you've had a pretty good hunting season up there so far. What has been going on in your neck of the woods, deer wise?
Actually, it's been a really nice October. You know, I don't know if you guys know seen or not, but my wife killed her first deer back in September. Then the first day actually. So
wow,
she really nice 11, 144 and 4.8. So that was her first deer.
Golly,
first buck, compound bow. It's been a good season already.
Boy, howdy! I tell you what. So with that success already, I'm sure you kind of. It could go two ways with this. You could have a lot of pressure on yourself, or you could just be hunting free, So did you go into hunting this buck that you were after kind of with that free spirit, or were you really trying to get after him?
Actually, it was her. It was her turn. I've been getting grief from her, because she wanted her first deer. And what the cool thing about this story is she missed this deer in 2019 as a 3.5-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were set up really trying to kill him, but when this big 11 come in September, I said, honey, you can't pass this deer. And she's like, no. And all on video, it was, that was my season then. And then this comes down Thursday, and I couldn't ask for another season, but I don't go on vacation. I go on vacation Monday for 2 weeks. So I feel free, to be honest with
you. That's cool. So what was the tactic you were using to capitalize on this big buck?
Get as close to him as I could.
Yeah.
He has been tough.
That's a good archery tactic, man. That works.
Yeah. In October, that's all you can do, in my opinion. I don't hunt mornings in October. I'll be honest with you, not till late October.
Yeah.
So I try hunt less, scout more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was my tactic.
So you were setting up close to bedding in the evening?
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if when I heard him coming, he wasn't out of his bed for too long. But
yeah, you have a big old cowlick on him. That's how I can always tell. They still got that cowlick on their rump, where they kind of been sitting sideways. That's how you know you're close to the bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, man.
So how'd you find his bed?
Well, I'd be scared to even know how many hours I put into this deer and trying to find him and just getting my tail whipped by him. But I started finding really, really big rubs. And I lost him last year before he even rubbed his velvet, so I never seen him all fall. And then I caught back up to him as I usually do in the summer. And I started finding his rubs there just about 10 days ago. Mm-hmm. Massive rubs. So I knew he wasn't far. He's not going to go somewhere far and do all that kind of sign. So I knew it was close. And I started using cell cams a little deeper and keeping my other cameras that I had to check further away from him. And I was picking him up. So, and he actually showed up Thursday morning while I was at work. And I thought, man, I've got to get in there this evening. So I did. And the rest is history.
Yeah. So going forward, would you continue trying to get close to bucks like in the next week to their bedding?
It seems like right now the light switch, my cameras are I'm getting bucks now that I have never seen already. So it seems to me like, this is unfolding a little bit earlier than what I'm used to.
Gotcha.
Usually by Halloween weekend is when this goes down, but it seems like it's starting now a little early for me than I'm accustomed to.
Man,
here.
That's actually pretty exciting news. I know that I've seen a little bit of that as well. It seems even with the hot temperatures, I don't know, have y'all been having unseasonably warm temperatures there in West Virginia?
Yeah. We have the really cold mornings, the really pretty afternoons, but then by evening, the sun's down. It is. I mean, you're reaching for that coat,
Mm-hmm. Now I know y'all are pretty far on the eastern side of the country, but a lot of the country is going to experience a weather front this week. Is that going to get to y'all?
It is, but it's not going to be as big. I like it if I can get a 10-degree temperature change from one day. So it looks like Thursday for us is going to be that day.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's going to be 75 to 63 or something like that. But if I see that coming, I want to be in the woods that next day for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So with that looming, are you going to be still trying to be close to bedding? You hitting scrapes, or what's your major tactic going to be going forward?
Honestly, going forward, I'm going to be trying to hunt these cruise roads. So we got a lot of the big mountains, and these bucks like to run these what we call skidding log roads.
Mm-hmm.
These bucks like to run them. They're horizontal roads around these mountains, and that's the way they like to run.
That's cool.
I'll try to find some big rubs, and set up one of scrapes and just wait.
Yep. Man, sounds like you have got some stuff in store coming up, dude. It's an exciting time of the year. If you had to rate the next week of deer hunting coming up, if you were going to rate buck movement between a scale of 1 to 10, what would you call it?
Honestly, this week coming up, I think it's going to be hot, between 8 and 10. I like this.
Woo!
I like this. In my opinion, and with my experience with this time of the year, this area coming up around Halloween is always, I kill a deer every year this time of year.
Yeah, buddy.
It's almost in this area. Now, when you start getting that lockdown, it just seems like things slow down and you're really doing a lot of sitting in the stand and not seeing anything. And
yeah,
I really, really like last of October. I do. I've always have.
Man, exciting times, and I love the confidence you got, dude. I know you're going to have a great hunt, and we appreciate the info.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right now I've got Jordan Barnes with Close Proximity. He's been hunting in Georgia. What's been going on, dude?
Man, not much. Just logging some all-day sets in the swamps. A lot of looking around. A lot of looking around at every little noise.
Yeah,
and
the squirrels will get you this time of year, man.
Yeah, squirrels, coons, turkeys. But yeah, I've been in the deer pretty good so far this year. I'm just real close to getting air in a nice buck. Just hadn't transpired yet.
Sure.
Passed a lot of nice deer.
Yeah.
Cruising mid-morning, middle of the day, cruising downwind of doe bedding.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely searching.
Cool. So this is like you're near the coast, and this is pretty close to prime rut for you, I'm guessing. And so are you hunting like doe bedding a lot of times and hunting that downwind side, or what's your main tactic?
100% all day, every day. I don't care about sign really. I don't take really a whole lot of importance. I mean, this is crazy to some people, but it's how I find the big deer. I don't pay attention to really hot sign, fresh sign. I pay attention to doe bedding. Like everything revolves around doe bedding. For me, it doesn't matter if there's big grubs there or not. I'm hunting downwind side of doe bedding, hunting to exploit the tendency, and that's where I'm getting on all these big deer.
So, in your neck of the woods, what is doe bedding? Like when you're identifying that, whether it's on a map or on the ground, how are you finding that?
It could be clear cut. It could be tie bays. Just any change in habitat that's thick. I mean, a lot of times, to be honest with y'all, I'll walk miles late season and identify where I'm jumping doe family groups. Mm-hmm. And that's all I need. And then I'll go back in there at the right time of year and just hunt downwind of it. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of north stuff right now. So I've got, I'll get on the downwind side of it for north. And then if it switches on me and goes south, southwest, southeast, I'll just rotate to get on the downwind side of it on a different angle.
Are you, I'm really interested in this because we're about to go, we're a little bit behind where we're headed of what you're talking about Rut Fest wise. But are you trying to sandwich those bucks between you and the doe bedding? Like, are you setting up like 20 yards south of the trail you expect the deer, downwind, let me say that, of the trail you expect the deer to be on? Or are you sitting up on the trail or upwind of it? Or how do you really configure that?
So I'm just basically, I've noticed that sometimes you might have, like the weather forecast might be, let's say the weather forecast is, well, let's just start off. I'm not trying to take up all y'all's time, but let me try to explain it this way. So let's say you get the weather and it says, okay, I want to go hunt downwind of this tie bay, and it pinches right next to a slough or something, or it's a cane thicket and it pinches next to a slough. All right. And I see there's like it's a north wind. So I'm going to hunt the south side of that. All right. Well, sometimes let's say it could be a south wind, and that might be the wrong wind, but the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, if it's real calm, the thermals might suck to still pull downwind. So sometimes I'll still hunt it that first portion, and then I'll get down, get in the boat, or get down, walk the bank out or something, and get on the other side of it for lunch, like once the day winds start. So it's just the main thing to grasp, or that I try to put a handle on, is just making sure I'm downwind.
Yeah.
I just need to be downwind of where those does are spending their time, where they're, and that can change throughout the year sometimes, but typically wherever I'm jumping, if I walk late season, I'm jumping a bunch of doe family groups. I'm jumping them early season in the summer. I'm jumping them late season. That's a perennial doe bedding area. And that's going to get my attention more so than, oh, here's a bunch of rubs and scrapes somewhere.
Yeah. Man, you don't hear many people talking about doe bedding right now, and it's definitely something I've used to kill deer on too. I like it a lot. So I'm glad you're talking about this. Now, going forward in the next week or so, I know, in the South, the rut trickles a little harder than it does in the Midwest and up north, but are you going to still employ the same tactics? Do you like that going forward? And do you feel comfortable saying that the deer are going to be moving pretty good, checking doe bedding next week?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that is the main tendency. I mean, that's what we're all really trying to exploit. I think everybody's got different little ways that they, strategies they go about it. But to me, I mean, that's the meat and potatoes of exploiting the buck's tendency.
Yeah, yes.
So for a vast majority of the year,
gotcha.
I mean, different days will come in estrus. She doesn't get bred like in the South. There's so many does. Everybody wants to pass the 10 does to shoot the buck. So a lot of times what happens is if they don't get bred, obviously, y'all know this, they don't get bred that first cycle. They'll come in about 28 days later. So it's just a trickle. I mean, I'm going to keep hunting that same tendency.
Sure. So scale of 1 to 10, what do you assume buck movement will be like there on the coastal marshes of Georgia next week?
Well, I guess Saturday I had a shooter, for down here. I mean, mature buck, probably Pope and Young on a doe, like full all out. So I'm sure some of them bucks will lock down, but for the most part, I mean, it's going to be a lot of cruising, a lot of late morning cruising all day, middle of the day, 2 o'clock. I mean, it could happen any second. And that'll pretty much stay pretty consistent throughout, I guess the rest of October, first part of November.
Gotcha. So if you had to put a number on it, 1 to 10, what do you think?
I'd say it's high. Like, I mean, right now is the time to be in the woods. 10. I mean,
right now, 10, baby. That's cool.
If you're in middle to south, you're in South Georgia and you're not in the tree right now, you should be.
Dadgummit.
I like it.
All right, dude. Well, thanks for the report, man, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, man.
As you know, the Meat Eater Live Tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.
All right, I got Alex Comstock from Whitetail DNA. What's happening, man? You've been in Minnesota lately, huh?
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in the woods here in Minnesota, but not been seeing much deer.
Yeah. You ever heard of the Headless Horseman? Comes out around Halloween. You've been dealing with anything like that lately?
It doesn't really ring a bell, but no.
Oh man, I feel for you. Sometimes you find out that the big buck you're chasing gets shot. I actually found that out last year around my house, so I know what it feels like. It's not a good feeling. But you've still been out there after them. What exactly are you kind of focusing on right now when you think about tactically how to harvest a big buck in Minnesota right now?
Yeah, I've been kind of, in the last week or so, I've been focusing on just areas. Been trying to push close to bedding, trying to find scrapes that are, what I would call close to bedding and not just scrapes that I think are getting hit at night. Here we had a pretty good acorn crop, but being as far north as we are, the acorns pretty much got decimated and all dropped really early, like late September. I'm really just trying to focus in on pushing close to bedding, trying to find those scrapes. And it's been tough because I haven't really been able to find much as far as daylight activity has been going. So,
yeah. How are you finding, or what do you assume, how are you making the assumptions of bedding, I guess?
A mix of just, where I hunt, it's a suburban area. And so I can do quite a bit of walking in the woods on types of trails, snowmobile trails, hiking trails without being invasive, and can, for like example, I actually was out hanging cams last week and was walking a snowmobile trail and picked up one of the bucks I've been after, and he was bedded, 40 yards off a snowmobile trail. So I didn't really do any harm. But I, knew where he's bedded right there. And stuff like that, essentially. And then just trying to get into areas that, finding, if I can find any type of food source and trying to, backtrack essentially. But that's pretty much what I've been doing up here in Minnesota.
Give him that old tough acting, boom trick, like that's the way you do it. That urban thing is real interesting because you're not like hunting backyard deer, but you're hunting deer that are, in urban zones, right? And so pressure is just different in that stuff. And I kind of want to pick your brain about that just a little bit. You say you bump that deer off the snowmobile trail, but I'm sure he's used to people. But at the same time, you never know when some, Meemaw has walked her dog down the same trail and has bumped him like that day. So how do you do you have specific days of the week that you feel are better in those type of situations, or like how are you navigating that? Yeah,
it's a super tricky topic of discussion. We could probably do an hour-long podcast on it. But it's so true in the fact that, what I found is if you're on these trails, deer are so used to, they know where the trails are. They're used to people going by. It's when you stop, or if you venture off the trails, is when they know immediately. So that buck, we caught a glimpse of him as we were walking by him. We were already past him. And if we would have just kept walking, I guarantee you he would have not, given two cares in the world. The fact that we stopped, backed up, we're like, holy crap, look at you, throwing your binos up. And then immediately you knew something was up and he's, out of there. So it's a kind of a catch-22, but it does also allow me to walk through and, I can scout by taking these trails and jump off the trail, check an area out, back on the trail. And it just, the pressure is, the way you put it is good, is different. And I found that, the early morning, late evening, when the least time people are on the trails is when deer, most active or most likely to get up and start, crossing some of these trails and whatnot.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
So going forward, what are you going to be focusing on in the next week or so?
I'm trying to find as much deer sign as possible. I've been pretty much every sit, I've been in a different tree, just going with a saddle and, looking for sign and scrapes. And, until we've got a ton of cell cams out and they've just been dead. So as long as those stay dead, I'm just hunting for scrapes right now, back where I believe deer are bedded, not just, to translate to other people, not just like field edge scrapes, essentially.
Sure.
Trying to get back into the cover. And if you can find those, seemingly active scrapes, I think now, and obviously deer are going to start, focusing on does here pretty quick. So kind of that kind of combination.
Yeah. So with that in mind, and weather and moon and whatever else you consider typically when you like to think about hyping for whitetail, what would you assume buck movement will be like based on a scale of 1 to 10 in the next week?
I'm hoping we can get over a 5. So I'm going to go with 6.
All right.
It's been warm here. It's been pretty warm. I mean, we were pushing 70 yesterday, which where I'm at, northern Minnesota, is really, really warm.
Scorcher.
Gracious.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it, right? I mean, shoot.
That does sound, for real, though, that does sound like it would be kind of a downer, for y'all.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, but we've got, in the next week, we got temps pushing down where highs are in the 40s, lows are in the 20s. So I'd call that, typical weather. It's not like below averages, I wouldn't say, but we're getting to get good weather and the timing, time of year. So I'm hoping with how bad it's been, is bound to pick up. So I'm going to go ahead and give her a 6.
All right, dude. Well, that sounds like promising. You know, it's very realistic, but promising. It's that time of year, man. I appreciate you getting on with us. I hope that this picks up for you and you get a crack at a deer up there, because I know it means a lot to you. You work really hard at it. Appreciate what you do, man, and hopping on the phone with us as well. So hope things go well for you the rest of the season.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, and good luck to you guys as well.
All right, now on the phone we've got Johnny Stewart, not to be confused with the guy that owns Bass Pro Shops. This is a guy in Pennsylvania who is a public land deer killer. He is a good hunter. Johnny, what's been going on, man?
Not much. Trying to get a little hunting in. Just kind of, it's that time of year, waiting for the rut.
Yeah. So talk about what kind of habitat you typically are hunting. Is it hill country, or what's it look like?
Actually, Pennsylvania. I live near Pittsburgh. I travel. I have a camp north. I've been putting a lot of time into there, but it's hard when you don't live close to where you're hunting. But it's mountain bucks. But actually, the area, some people can get confused with mountains. It is considered the Allegheny Mountain Range, but kind of the area I'm hunting is really flat, gradual. Kind of, they call it the plateaus. Makes it kind of difficult not having the terrain. I feel like it's easier to hunt terrain. Not easier. It's all hard when you're hunting in the mountains, but
sure.
A lot of browse up in that area. No mass. Some areas have mass, but no acorns this year. And the beach we're producing the last few years, nothing's happening. So it's pretty much hunting, browsing deer that roam a lot. So it's a challenge, but I like it.
Yeah, no, that sounds a lot like where we hunt. We hunt real flat country too. If you see if you hear somebody say, "Hey, over on that ridge," in our country, it's like a 6-inch rise. You know what I mean? It's like you can't really see it. You just got to walk up on it, and there's no water there. You know, so I understand that flat roaming browse country, because we've got the same type of stuff down here, and it makes it difficult. And like you said, the elevation helps to kind of funnel deer. So let's talk a little bit about what you focus on. I mean, it sounded like beach was something you were looking at, but what do you typically focus on this time of year?
So a big thing for me is hunting pressure. So they just had here in PA up where I hunt was a rifle bear or a muzzle loader. There was an Orange Army out, and they're hitting the clear cuts and pushing all the good habitat, which a lot of people like to go to. But I kind of I feel like the bigger deer that I'm hunting are going to just satellite them areas, maybe hit them at night. They're just kind of like a different creature. They don't want to be bothered at all. And the weather was a little bit warm, so getting down near creek bottoms, sometimes that's tough with the winds maybe swirling. But I find a lot of these deer are always scent checking the areas, especially this time of year with does coming into heat and other bucks in their area. Like the biggest deer I find will be like the furthest downwind on a flat. Like I got like a flat, then it gradually, there is elevation change. Maybe the area I'm at, maybe 100 feet. And then further downstream, you can keep following the creek to where you can get to 400 feet elevation, but that's like miles downstream. It's like on the top where there's a watershed on each side of this flat, but they're just there. They're lazy. Not lazy. I find how their navigation is just very efficient through the woods, not going at this time of year when the rut isn't happening yet. Just kind of, you see rubs on a flat and this and that sign. You think sometimes there are deer that travel at night a lot. I've found deer that travel a mile, checking scrapes in different areas where they're going to breed does. And like this one deer I'm hunting, I think he's hanging out right there and claiming that territory and not just kind of just getting, he's just like a satellite. He's there. He knows what's going on. He's not a mile away.
Sure.
But like I said, it's all personality type and the deer itself. Some of them cease to travel a lot, but sometimes the older ones kind of know where they want to be and just hang out. And so, yeah, I've just been checking. I just got home from up there, and I was up there. I got a lot of cameras running, and mainly in areas where I can check without bumping deer, where I'm kind of know where maybe he's feeding at night. I might bump a doe here or there, but to gauge where the whether are they starting at daylight or still nighttime. So I just keep an eye, and then when I hunt now, I usually hunt before light. My most productive spot, and sometimes I go in at light. It's kind of like a toss-up, which is better because sometimes you go in before light and it's calm, heavy frost, and maybe they're hanging out right there. Since it's so flat and they roam and there's browse, you got to be careful bumping them. It's tough to get in
Yeah.
So sometimes I like going in after light, but I'll get out at noon or 10, 11, whenever I feel. I'll check cameras, study my Spartan Forge. I'm always looking at that and deciding, just really fine tune it, always learning, never stop scouting and finding. I'm kind of looking for that doe that comes into heat up around the end of October, 27, 26, 29, because I know there's a very few of them.
Yeah.
I'm finding and I ask other hunters, you seen the scrape? You seen it? Not yet. They just started. So what they've been scraping my area. So to me, that's telling me like something's going to happen soon. So.
Yeah, man, we're coming up on that week for sure, and I'll really look forward to that late October stuff, and I know you do too. So if you were going to look at kind of what you had coming up, what's the one thing that you're going to concentrate on, and then if you could predict deer movement on a scale to 1 to 10 over the next week, what would that look like?
So I think the number one, I'm going to go back up and hunt this upcoming week. Weather might be a little warm, but I think I'm going to just focus on them scrapes, see where the rubs are. I feel like that buck's close. Stay in tight. Watch your wind. They're still not out of your mind, out of their skull, and they're going to be using that wind. And you're going to play the edge, get scent free, and get ready for them to start chasing does.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, from a scale of 1 to 10, what's it going to be, man?
I'd say about a 6.5.
Oh, yeah. I got some hadgies in there.
Johnny, there's a bunch of people that are mad at me right now because I said the owner of Bass Pro is Johnny Stewart. I realize it's Johnny Morris. Hey, that's okay, man. You can own Bass Pro Shops too, even though your name's Stewart, man. Okay, so, hey, thanks for hopping on the phone with this man and giving us a good report.
Yeah, no problem.
If you can't tell, the big buck hype is real this time of year, guys. October is when things start happening, and it's super exciting. Things have happened for us lately, actually. We had a buddy of ours kill a really big buck over a scrape in South Dakota. That video's on the Element channel if you want to check out kind of how that went. And then we actually go in-depth on the Element podcast as well and talk about some of those tactics involved with hunting scrapes in October. And by the way, Mark Kenyon poses the question in a recent article on Wired to Hunt of if October is the new November for deer hunters. I don't know how on board with that I am. You might want to go read what Mark has to say about that. These things can really help you as we push into November because guess what, guys? That's the rut. This is Rut Fresh. Keep it fresh.
As you know, the Meat Eater Live Tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.